Hey guys, welcome to the Bitcoin Fortress podcast, helping you increase your financial freedom. This is episode 154, recorded here on February 16th, 2025. This podcast is for entertainment only and is not investing advice. Please do your own homework. We are at block 884074, Moscow time 1031. I don't know why I like that number. Fees 3, 4, and 5. We'll start with the market news update outlook, get into the weekly Bitcoin, top Bitcoin news, and then talk about this week's featured post on the Bitcoin Fortress Substack, and we'll finish up with the shout outs. Jumping right in, Wall Street on Friday snapped a 2-week losing streak with the benchmark S&P 500 ending just 0.07% below its record closing high. It was a week dominated by U.S. President Donald Trump's announcements on tariffs. On Monday, he announced 25% levies on all steel and aluminum imports into the U.S. On Thursday, he signed a memorandum that tasked his administration with investigating current trade relations and proposing reciprocal tariffs on a country-specific basis. Still, the fact that the president did not immediately put into effect the tit-for-tat tariffs and was scant on details helped market sentiment. A favorable producer inflation report for January on Thursday also helped, as the components in it that feed directly into the Federal Reserve's favorite inflation gauge came in soft. It also helped overcome the shock provided by a hotter than expected consumer inflation report on Wednesday. For the week, the S&P 500 gained 1.5%, while the tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite surged 2.6%. The blue chip Dow added 0.5%. Looking ahead, in a holiday and data light week, investors will be focusing on the January housing data for the US, including housing starts on Wednesday and existing home sales on Friday. Walmart, Alibaba Group Holding, Medtronic, Occidental Petroleum, and Analog Devices will be the major names reporting earnings next week. Friday will also feature the release of Purchasing Manager's preliminary print by S&P Global for February and the Consumer Sentiment Purchasing Index from the University of Michigan. Getting into the Bitcoin news, we will start with block 884070, important news of the week from No BS Bitcoin. U.S. Customs and Border Protection broadens crackdown on Asian ASICs. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection is seizing Bitcoin mining ASICs, and the crackdown now includes machines from MicroBT and Canaan, following the initial stoppage of Bitmain's Antminer S21 and T21 models last year. One letter from the agency, seen by Blockspace Media, states that the miners were, quote, seized and subject to forfeiture under 19 U.S.C. 1595A C2A for involving unauthorized communication devices, interfering radio frequency equipment, and equipment that is not FCC approved or compliant with the agency's rules. UK orders Apple to create backdoor for encrypted iCloud accounts worldwide. Apple has received a secret order. I guess it's not secret anymore, is it? From the UK Home Secretary's office requiring the company to provide access to any user data protected by its advanced data protection for iCloud. Apple might withdraw support for advanced data protection for iCloud in the UK instead of installing a backdoor. The British government's undisclosed order issued last month required blanket capability to view fully encrypted material, not merely assistance in cracking a specific account, and has no known precedent in major democracies, reports the Washington Post. And if you're backing up your data in iCloud, you probably shouldn't be, because it can easily be accessed by anybody with a court order or whatever, and maybe, I don't know if it could be hacked. I'm sure it could be hacked someday. So probably better to store your data on a local device. Just saying. Tornado Cash developer updates. Tornado Cash developer Roman Storm is petitioning the U.S. Supreme Court to block an order requiring him to reveal his defense strategy to the government, reports The Rage. Meanwhile, Alexei Pertsev was released from pretrial detention on Friday in the Netherlands under the condition of electronic monitoring. Pertsev was sentenced to 64 months in the Netherlands for writing open source privacy code on Ethereum last year. His defense has filed an appeal. Is code free speech? Ex-operator of the Bitcoin or BTC-E exchange to be released to Russia in a swap for U.S. citizen. Alexander Vinnik, the former operator of the BTC-E exchange, is being released to Russia following a prison exchange arranged by President Donald Trump for an American teacher. Convicted in France for money laundering and sentenced to 5 years, Vinnik was held in Greece until 2022 when extradited to the U.S. for further charges. Brink renewed grants to 8 Bitcoin Core engineers: Michael Ford, Gloria Zhao, Hennady Stepanov, Sebastian Falbasaner, Nicholas Gogay, Stefan Steke, Fabian Jar, and Marco De Leon. If you're curious about the work these engineers are doing, we have a detailed annual report in the works, said Mike Schmidt, co-founder and executive director at Brink. Melee backs away from Libra meme coin after insiders pocket 4.4 billion, that's billion with a B, dollars. Argentina's President Javier Milei withdrew a tweet promoting the Libra meme coin. The coin's market cap surged to $4.4 billion, but then dropped over 95%. Milei's deleted tweet claimed Libra was aimed at boosting Argentina's economy and included a Solana contract address for the token. Meanwhile, Safedine Amus posted on Twitter, astonishing shitcoinery by Milei, shocking even to shitcoiners. He marketed a shitcoin to support the growth of Argentina, received millions of dollars from fans worldwide, dumped his coins, tanking the coin 95%, deleted the tweet, and now expects everyone to just move on. Yes, that's pretty bad from a Austrian economist. Trump picks former Bitfury executive Jonathan Gould to lead the OCC. Previously, Gould was chief legal officer at Bitcoin technology firm Bitfury and previously served as senior deputy comptroller and chief counsel at the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, which regulates and supervises the national banks and federal savings associations. The Czech Republic enacts a law to exempt Bitcoin hodlers from paying taxes on long-term capital gains. The country's president, Peter Pavel, signed a bill exempting crypto users from paying taxes on Bitcoin and other digital assets held for 3 years or longer. Additionally, transactions up to, I guess, Czech krona 100,000 or $4,136 per year will not need to be reported to tax authorities. Trump Media to launch Bitcoin ETF this year. Donald Trump's media company, Trump Media and Technology Group, announced plans to launch 3 ETFs under the Truth.fi brand, including Truth.fi Bitcoin Plus ETF, Truth.fi Made in America ETF, and Truthy Energy Independence ETF. The Highway Workers Union of Wyoming to add Bitcoin to its balance sheet. The Wyoming Highway Patrol Association has reportedly launched the Get Off Zero initiative in partnership with Proof of Workforce. And there's a tweet from Proof of Workforce. That's Don Bay's organization. Shout out to him. Santa Monica firefighter, good man. Just in, Wyoming Highway Patrol Association adopts Proof of Workforce Get Off Zero initiative, potentially becoming the first law enforcement association in the U.S. to hold Bitcoin on its balance sheet. Love to hear it. Strategy X MicroStrategy purchased 7,633 Bitcoin. The recently rebranded firm increased its Bitcoin holdings to 478,740 Bitcoin with the purchase of $742.4 million worth of coins. Curl Technology Group increased Bitcoin holdings to 610 Bitcoin. The latest purchases were made at a weighted average price of $103,905 per Bitcoin, inclusive of fees and expenses. Texas University announces a $5 million Bitcoin investment fund. The University of Austin launched a $5 million Bitcoin investment fund within its $200 million endowment. The investment strategy includes a minimum holding period of 5 years. UK man who lost 8,000 Bitcoin in a landfill now wants to buy it. I've discussed this option recently with investment partners, and it is very much on the table, said James Howells, who has been pursuing the lost hard drive for over a decade. The local authorities are planning to close the landfill in the 2025-26 financial year. Galoy launches Lana to power Bitcoin collateralized lending for community banks. Lana assists community and challenger banks, Galoy's primary focus by enabling Bitcoin secured loans for a diverse customer base. It integrates seamlessly with core banking systems, cryptocurrency custodians, and exchanges, ensuring compatibility with the existing banking ecosystem. Fold launched its Bitcoin Rewards credit card in partnership with Visa. Cardholders can access a suite of financial services through the Fold app, including zero-fee Bitcoin trades and exclusive bonuses from partner merchants. The app offers FDIC-insured transactional accounts and insured Bitcoin custody. Card rewards vary by Fold membership level. Bring In launched its Bring In debit card. The regulated offering enables users to convert Bitcoin from a base chain or Lightning wallet to a virtual Visa debit card usable wherever Visa is accepted. LQWD plans to expand stablecoin capabilities following Tether's integration with Lightning Network. The Lightning infrastructure firm said the development is targeted to be completed by the end of the month or shortly thereafter. Unbank partners with Voltage to bring Lightning payments to 40,000 locations. This collaboration marks a major milestone in mainstream Bitcoin adoption, allowing unbanked users to buy and sell Bitcoin with debit cards or cash at ATMs, retail counters, and through the Unbank app. By integrating Voltage's enterprise-grade Lightning Network infrastructure, Unbank is now able to deliver instant, seamless transactions with minimal fees, improving the overall experience for users, Voltage said in a blog post. iOS version 18.3.1 update fixes security flaw used in sophisticated attacks. Apple states that the update patches an actively exploited security flaw in the USB restricted mode feature, which requires periodic device unlocking to use USB data connections through the Lightning or USB-C port. Bitcoin Film Fest 2025 to take place on May 22nd through the 25th in Warsaw, Poland. The event dedicated to Bitcoin films and culture. Get your tickets here. There's a link. And of course, I'll put a link to this article in the show notes. The MIT Bitcoin Expo 2025 is scheduled for April 5th through 6th, 2025 in Cambridge, Massachusetts. The 12th edition of the event will focus on how Bitcoin and freedom technologies can serve as tools for empowerment and economic sovereignty. Get your tickets here, and there is a link. Ghana Lightning Development Bootcamp is set to take place on April 9th through 12th, 2025. Secure your spot here, and there's a link. Bitcoin Data Devs Cohort 2 applications are now open. We're calling on all African female developers looking to break into Bitcoin development and join a supportive community to grow, learn, and thrive, said the organizers. Interested participants can sign up using this link, and there is a link. Bitcoin Policy Summit 2025 is set to take place on June 25th, 2025. The event will be held in the heart of Washington, D.C. at the Ronald Reagan Building and International Trade Center. Click here to express your interest in attending the summit. And that wraps up the update, important news of the week. Moving on to Hodler's Digest from Cointelegraph, top stories of the week. And we will try to skip over the shitcoinery unless it's funny. U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission's Crypto Task Force met with several representatives from the cryptocurrency and traditional finance sectors to discuss regulatory issues impacting digital assets in early February. Key themes included staking, clear guidelines for exchange traded products, and a new framework for policing the emerging asset class. According to memoranda available on the SEC's website, the Crypto Task Force met with the Blockchain Association and Industry Lobby Group on February 4th. The lobby group suggested 6 priority areas the task force should focus on to tackle issues that impact the digital asset industry. In addition to establishing regulatory principles and clearer guidelines, the lobby group requested that the SEC adopt a pro-innovation approach to broker-dealers, custodians, and exchanges, establish uniform ETP standards, and ensure protocol staking is not classified as a security. Elizabeth Warren calls Elon Musk a, quote, bank robber for dismantling the CFPB. U.S. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren is pushing back against Elon Musk and President Donald Trump over efforts to dismantle the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, an agency she helped to create in 2007. The CFPB, a U.S. government agency focused on consumer protection, was hit with another wave of layoffs on February 13th, receiving termination notices for up to 100 employees, NPR noted. The layoffs came shortly after Russell Vought, director of the Office of Management and Budget and acting head of the CFPB, recently appointed by U.S. President Donald Trump, cut off the agency from new funding, in line with the agenda of the Musk-led Department of Government Efficiency's Workforce Optimization Initiative. The CFPB was created by Congress, and Congress, not Elon Musk, not Donald Trump, is the only one that can shut it down, Warren said in an interview with progressive publication Mother Jones on February 12th. SEC acknowledges Grayscale's XRP and Doge ETF filings. Oh, well, we don't care about that. Coinbase CEO predicts 10% of global GDP to be on crypto rails by 2030. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong says it's, quote, the dawn of a new era for crypto in the US, and predicted that as much as 10% of global gross domestic product will be crypto based by 2030. Up to 10% of global GDP should be running on crypto rails by the end of this decade, Armstrong said during Coinbase's February 13th, fourth quarter 2024 earnings call. Armstrong compared the current movement of companies trying to integrate crypto to the early 2000s, when every company had to figure out how to adapt to the internet. On-chain is the new online, he said. If Armstrong's prediction plays out, it would mean over $10 trillion in value would be tokenized or on-chain based on today's global GDP of over $100 trillion, according to the World Bank. CZ's dog name sparks broccoli meme coin frenzy. Oh, well, this sounds ridiculous. Changpeng CZ Zhao, founder and former CEO of Binance, revealed his dog's name, Broccoli, in an X post on February 13th, sparking a wave of meme coins named after the Belgian Malinois canine. Broccoli meme coins have quickly taken up residence on popular meme coin launching platforms, including Solana's Pump.fun, where there are at least 480 broccoli-themed coins, and BNB Smart Chain's 4.meme, with at least 300 coins at the time of writing. Some have gained traction, with one Solana broccoli meme coin reaching a $1.5 billion market cap on February 13th. CZ stressed that he was not launching a meme coin of his own, adding that it's up to the community to do that or not. That's totally ridiculous, but what do you expect with the shitcoins? Let's see. Prediction of the week. Kathy Wood stands by 1.5 million Bitcoin prediction despite ETF outflows. Bitcoin's chances of reaching $1.5 million are improving as institutional investors increase their exposure to digital assets, according to ARK Invest CEO Kathy Wood. Bitcoin has been trading under the key $100,000 level since February 4th, as investor sentiment has been pressured by global trade war concerns following import tariffs announced by the US and China. Despite the temporary market slump, Bitcoin's odds of surpassing $1.5 million a coin have increased, according to Wood. We actually think the odds have gone up that our bull case will be the right number because of what is becoming the institutionalization of this new asset class, she said. Let's see what's here in the FUD of the week. Near Protocol X manager live streams nudes, apologizing to girlfriend. A former employee of Layer 1 blockchain platform Near Protocol accidentally showed nude images while sharing a screen on a public call, coinciding with a tidy price bump for native token Near. Ex-business development manager Andrew Crinan was on a live stream with Near Core contributor Cameron Dennis when two titillating images appeared on the screen, providing viewers with a look at the file saved on his desktop. The only thing that I wanted to say next was, God damn it, Crinan said after 2 seconds of silence, his screen sharing stopped. Oh boy. KlueCoin founder asked to be spared prison for $1.1 million fraud scheme. The founder of the crypto scheme KlueCoin, who pleaded guilty to wire fraud last year for stealing 1.1 million in investor funds to gamble in online casinos, has asked a judge to spare him from a prison sentence. Austin Michael Taylor asked a Miami federal court in a February 11th sentencing memo to sentence him to probation, which would allow him to serve any sentence outside of prison. A memo from prosecutors filed the same day asked for him to be imprisoned for around 2.5 years. Mr. Tyler Taylor understands that he had a lapse in judgment and has accepted responsibility for his actions, his lawyer wrote. The memo added he completed an in-hospital mental health treatment program before his guilty plea and continues to receive treatment while attending Gamblers Anonymous meetings. Wow. 6 men kidnapped a Chicago family, forcing 15 million crypto transfer. 6 men have reportedly been charged over allegedly kidnapping a family of three and a nanny in Chicago before forcing them to transfer $15 million worth of cryptocurrencies, according to a February 12th report from the Chicago Tribune, which cited a recently unsealed FBI affidavit. The kidnappers knocked on the family's townhouse door, pretending that they accidentally damaged their garage door, and then forced their way inside with guns. The kidnappers allegedly forced the family into a van before taking them to an Airbnb about an hour away for one night and then to another house the next day. Kidnappers allegedly demanded ransom payments in Bitcoin, Ether, and other cryptocurrencies, threatening to kill them, otherwise, the victims claimed. Well, you got to keep it on the down low, folks. That's all I could say. You're going to hear more about this, I'm sure, in the future. Okay, moving on. Next up from Decrypt. This was posted on February 16th. How Bitcoin lender Ledn navigated being debanked multiple times. The era of debanking the crypto industry may be over. That's according to Ledn CSO Mauricio Di Bartolomeo, who told Decrypt, I don't think banks are coming. I think they're here, referred to how major financial institutions are no longer hesitant to engage with crypto businesses. Ledn is a huge success story when it comes to Bitcoin lending, having serviced over $6.5 billion in loans against the world's largest crypto. But even a business of this scale felt the debanking pinch under the previous Biden administration. In early 2023, U.S. regulators intensified scrutiny on banks servicing crypto firms, leading to the collapse of key industry banking partners like Silvergate and Signature Bank. Widely referred to as Choke Point 2.0, that wave of debanking allegedly forced even established firms like Ledn to navigate shifting financial relationships as traditional institutions pulled back from the sector. Thanks to our size when all this happened, we were lucky, Di Bartolomeo said. We already had relationships of trust with several banks worldwide, and so were able to move as needed. But smaller entrepreneurs were not so lucky and got left behind. Speaking about the company's experience in Canada before Choke Point 2.0, Mauricio said that they had bank accounts closed with no explanation, and when they inquired, they were simply told that it was the terms of service. He even struggled to open personal accounts and spoke of those close to him being shut down for transferring in from Coinbase or out to Kraken. Since Ledn already had a strong compliance use case and was trading over 100 million pounds or $125.6 million in funds, there were offers from banks in countries including France, Dubai, and even China. They saw how we worked and grew. They had no reason not to do business with us, Di Bartolomeo said. Speaking on how things have changed, he added, the attitude that banks have taken towards this industry have changed overnight. He went on to say, 2 years ago, we had a hard time getting a bank account open. Today, our biggest funding partners for our loans are banks. The sentiment is positive, as he said, as he tells Decrypt. If I told you how many banks have been calling us to get started, it's through the roof. Banks may ironically grow to become the biggest allies of these companies in the next 3 to 4 years. The future will likely see Bitcoin become an international reserve that levels the loans more fairly. Where now, in his home country, Venezuela, mortgages can be taken with a pen stroke, and what you can get for gold is vastly different to somewhere like Switzerland. Bitcoin can change that. Ledn loans at the same rate no matter where you are or who you are. As these loans become more common and rates drop over the next 3 to 4 years, he warns about other loan companies cropping up. Time in the market beats timing the market every single time, he said. Be diligent and ask the right questions. Don't get carried away by a logo, brand, or sponsorship. Look for a time tested, value driven solution before you use your Bitcoin for a loan. Next up from Crypto Potato, a little bit more detail on something we mentioned earlier. U.S. officials crack down on Bitcoin mining hardware. Let's see. Bitcoin mining hardware is facing increased scrutiny from U.S. officials. Recent seizures at entry points hint at a broader enforcement push that could impact major manufacturers and miners alike. At the request of the Federal Communications Commission, U.S. Customs and Border Protection has been seizing Bitcoin mining ASICs at ports of entry across the country. According to CBP documents reviewed by Blockspace and insider sources, the agency has also started detaining mining equipment from MicroBT and Canaan. The CBP has intensified its enforcement efforts, expanding on last year's detention of Antminer S21 and T21 miners, which were reportedly held due to their AI chips from the now restricted firm Softco. Also, CBP appears to have broadened its scope to include MicroBT and Canaan ASICs, and for the first time is also confiscating Bitmain units since beginning these actions last autumn. A CBP letter stated that the miners were seized and subject to forfeiture under U.S. Legal Code 19 blah blah blah. It includes restrictions on unauthorized communications equipment, radio frequency devices that cause interference, hardware lacking FCC approval or compliance. With detainments expanding, Syntec Digital co-founder and CEO Taras Kulik stated that nearly all Asian ASIC manufacturers are experiencing customs clearance problems. A source confirmed that multiple clients have had hardware seized at new ports beyond Detroit and San Francisco, and another company is now seeking legal partners to fight the seizures. The latest crackdown may be tied to the Trump administration's push to bring key silicon-based industries back to the U.S. Given the scale of Bitcoin mining operations and their reliance on silicon, this effort is in line with Trump's goal of supporting domestic miners to mine the remaining 1.042 million Bitcoin. So it sounds like you'll need to buy US, and they're going to have to figure out how to manufacture more of these in the US. Of course, then the price of ASICs are going to go up in the meantime, and that could impact the miners, but we'll see. Bitcoin.com news is the next article. Saylor and Bukele discuss how El Salvador can accelerate global Bitcoin adoption. Michael Saylor, executive chairman of MicroStrategy, met with El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele on February 13th to discuss global Bitcoin adoption. Saylor shared some information about the meeting on social media platform X the following day, stating, "Yesterday, President Bukele and I had a great discussion about the opportunities for El Salvador to benefit from and accelerate global Bitcoin adoption." The National Bitcoin Office in El Salvador also acknowledged the meeting, posting on X, "President Bukele met with Michael Saylor this afternoon at Casa Presidencial. Bitcoin was discussed." The meeting came shortly after El Salvador amended its Bitcoin law to comply with a $1.4 billion loan agreement with the International Monetary Fund. The legislative changes passed by the country's Congress make Bitcoin acceptance voluntary for businesses and prohibit its use for tax payments, scaling back its role in the economy. These reforms align with IMF requirements aimed at reducing Bitcoin-related risks. Despite these adjustments, the government continues to buy Bitcoin for its strategic reserves. Samson Mao, CEO of Jan3, recently explained the amendments to El Salvador's Bitcoin law, stating, "It's complicated, but the short answer is Bitcoin both is and isn't legal tender," he said. MicroStrategy, which recently rebranded to Strategy, has aggressively accumulated Bitcoin as part of its treasury strategy under Saylor's leadership. As of February 10th, the company holds approximately 478,740 Bitcoins. Saylor has been a vocal proponent of Bitcoin, frequently arguing that it is a superior store of value compared to traditional assets like gold or fiat currencies. His meeting with Bukele suggests a continued interest in advancing Bitcoin-friendly policies at the national level, even as El Salvador adjusts its approach to cryptocurrency integration. And let's see, next up from Bitcoin.com news, White House's Crypto Council gears up for major moves. Crypto czar David Sachs signals big changes. David Sachs, the White House's crypto czar, provided an update on digital asset coordination in Washington via social media platform X on February 14th. He stated the Interagency Working Group on Digital Assets is working well together to implement the president's agenda. Praising the efforts of Bo Hines, the executive director of the group, Sachs described Bo Hines as doing a fantastic job as executive director, keeping everyone coordinated. He added that some important announcements are coming soon. In December 2024, Trump appointed Hines as the executive director of the Presidential Council of Advisors for Digital Assets, commonly referred to as the Crypto Council. This council is chaired by Sachs. Hines, a former Republican congressional candidate from North Carolina, is tasked with collaborating with Sachs to promote innovation and growth in the digital assets sector, ensuring industry leaders have the necessary resources to succeed. Sachs' remarks were in response to a report by Fox Business journalist Eleanor Terrett, who examined concerns about the number of regulatory bodies involved in shaping crypto policy. Terrett noted that despite the presence of multiple entities, including the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, Crypto Task Force, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, Pilot Program, the Presidential Working Group, and the Bicameral Working Group for Digital Assets, collaboration has been effective, she reported. Surprisingly, there's a lot of coordination happening. These groups are actually talking and working with each other. Additionally, she revealed that Hines recently met with the head of the SEC's crypto task force, Hester Pierce, and acting CFTC chair, Caroline Pham. Industry representatives, including those from the Blockchain Association and the Chamber of Digital Commerce, have also been involved in discussions covering various regulatory topics such as staking within the exchange traded funds. Some of these members will participate in a CEO forum at the CFTC to discuss tokenized assets and how stablecoins can act as a form of collateral in futures markets. Lawmakers have also emphasized the importance of collaboration, citing Representatives French Hill and Brian Stile. Terrett noted, House members of the Bicameral Working Group for Digital Assets are working in lockstep with their Senate counterparts and the Presidential Working Group on crafting legislation. And finally, we'll finish up with a little bit of hopium here. This article is from Cointelegraph and was posted yesterday. Bitcoin's giant megaphone pattern sets 270K to 300K Bitcoin price target. Bitcoin has broken out of a 4-year bullish megaphone pattern, which may propel its price to new record highs in the coming months, according to market analyst Gert von Lagen. The bullish megaphone pattern, also known as a broadening wedge, forms when the price creates a series of higher highs and lower lows. As a technical rule, a breakout above the pattern's upper boundary may trigger a parabolic rise. In November, Bitcoin broke above the pattern's upper trend line as has since consolidated above it. Logan's chart highlights base 1, base 2, base 3, and base 4, a step-like accumulation structure that supports an orderly price discovery process before Bitcoin's parabolic ascent. Base 1 marked the end of the bear market at the megaphone's lower boundary. Base 2, a bear trap that shook out weak hands before Bitcoin reclaimed support. Base 3, a price expansion phase confirming the step formation with higher highs. Base 4, the final consolidation before the breakout, signaling that price discovery is well underway. Meanwhile, Logan has leveraged Elliott wave theory to project Bitcoin's breakout targets, mapping its price trajectory following successive accumulation phases within the megaphone pattern. His analysis suggests Bitcoin is now in wave 5, the final and often most parabolic phase of an impulse wave. As a rule, wave 5 tends to extend 1.618 times to 2 times the length of wave 3, aligning with Fibonacci-based price targets inside the $270,000 to $300,000 range by 2025. Analyst APSK32 compared Bitcoin's trajectory to gold's historic rise, suggesting Bitcoin could follow a similar path to as high as $400,000. Using a power law model normalized against gold's market cap, the analyst noted that Bitcoin has never moved more than 5 years ahead of its trend line, indicating further upside potential. The bullish outlook is largely driven by Bitcoin's increased adoption as a treasury asset among companies, mirroring gold's role as a store of value. Even traditional financial giants like Italy's Intesa Sanpaolo have been integrating Bitcoin into their holdings, signaling a growing institutional confidence in Bitcoin as a legitimate asset class. Historically, gold has been a safe haven asset for governments and institutions, and Bitcoin is now being positioned similarly, especially with US President Donald Trump considering a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Looking further ahead, Timothy Peterson predicts Bitcoin could surge to $1.5 million by 2035, citing network growth and historical adoption curves. Meanwhile, ARK Invest CEO Cathie Wood expects Bitcoin to reach the same price target, albeit by 2030. So just stay humble and hodl. Stack sats. All right, and then we will wrap up with the featured post this week on Bitcoin Fortress Substack. Article is entitled Tariffs, a Historical and Economic Perspective from a Bitcoiner's Lens. So check it out. I'll put a link in the show notes to that. And if you like it, please subscribe. It's free, or you can pay and help keep the lights on. It's up to you. Weekly top boost on Fountain. Once again, we must thank At God's Death with 536 sats. Thank you, sir. And with that, I will thank you for listening to the podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please like and leave a comment. Also, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss an episode. You can follow my Substack. It's at bitcoinfortress.substack.com. And you can follow me on Nostr. My NPub is in the show notes. Just copy and paste it into the search bar on your favorite app like Primal or whatever. And I'm there. And with that, I will talk to y'all next week. Bye bye.